Welcome to the Bassmaster Studios. We have another episode of Know the Pros today, and we have Bassmaster Elite Series Rookie Bob Downey with us. Bob, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Ronnie, hanging in there. How about yourself?
We're doing well. First off, I wanted to start with a question, an easy one. I'll give you a softball for your first question. Where are you from? What's your hometown?
I grew up in Eagan, Minnesota, which is just south of the Twin Cities area, St. Paul, Minneapolis. And now I live just across the border in Hudson, Wisconsin, so only like a half hour from where I grew up.
What would you consider your home lake in that region?
Man, we got so many little lakes around the metro area and up in northern Minnesota. So there's kind of an endless, array of lakes up in that part of the state. But I've really kind of fished the Mississippi River a lot more in the last 10 years, probably more than any of those lakes. So I would almost consider that to be my home water right now.
So when you have those guys that are from Minnesota, Wisconsin, it's hard to read them. Some are deep, clear anglers, some are shallow grass anglers. What would you consider yourself between the deep, clear smallmouth game or the dirty water, shallow, grass game?
I would say I grew up fishing more largemouth, more grass lakes around the metro area. And then, when you get over to the Mississippi River, you're definitely dealing with a little bit more dirty water, but you can target both species, largemouth and smallmouth. And so that's kind of what I cut my teeth doing growing up. And then as Mille Lacs kind of got better and better, in the last 10 years, I've spent more time up there to try and kind of round out my repertoire, I guess, and focus more on clearwater smallmouth. So it is a cool area. We got Mille Lacs, which you got your big open body of water smallmouth. You got a lot of natural lakes in the metro area, and then you have the river, which gives you a different dynamic too. Really, the only thing we don't have around here are like man-made reservoirs, and tidal water, I guess. Those two things we don't really have access to.
Do you remember your first ever fish catch or the fish catch that hooked you on bass fishing?
Yeah, I do. When we grew up fishing around Eagan, Minnesota, in little ponds, we would ride our bikes with our handlebars, or rods across our handlebars to these little lakes. And one in particular stands out to me. I was actually using, and this isn't made up, I literally was using a floating Rapala like a lot of kids have growing up here in Minnesota and kind of around the country. And I remember catching a 6-pound largemouth on that in one of the ponds, which 6-pounder for around here is kind of comparative to like a 10-pounder down in Florida. So that definitely sticks out to me and was definitely a pretty big memory for me that kind of got things going in the direction of really getting the bass bug pretty bad.
So oftentimes we see Elite Series rookies or second-year guys still keep their occupation, or they're still dabbling in that. So what did Bob Downey do before he became a pro, or since we have the virus, what are you still doing right now until you get going again?
Yeah, so I work for a surety bond agency. So we write bonds for construction contractors, and that's what I've done since 2011. And I'm still continuing to do that somewhat more on I guess it's a full-time basis, but more of a sales role than a management role. And that just allows me the flexibility to be gone on the road. And so I've still been keeping busy with that here while we're at home with the virus going on. And then I can also do it while I'm on the road, which is kind of nice too.
So for you, everybody wants to know when they come up to an Elite Series Pro, they're going to talk to him and say, hey, what's your personal best? What's your personal best largemouth, spotted bass, smallmouth? Do you know those three?
Yeah, so my personal best largemouth actually just came like 2 months ago. I ended up stopping at Lake Chickamauga after the Classic. As soon as we found out that event was going to be postponed and then opened up and it was no longer off limits, I went out there for about a week. I just kind of learned the lake and ended up catching one that was almost 9 pounds that day. And then caught another one that was like 7.5, so broke my PB twice in the same day, which is pretty cool. I don't know exactly what my smallmouth is. It's probably around 6 pounds, something like that. I've got a handful, close to that 6-pound range, and many over 4.5 into that 5-pound range over the years. We don't have spotted bass up here, so I would think my biggest spotted bass probably came down on Smith Lake last year for one of the Opens. Is probably around like 3.5 pounds.
So for Bob Downey, winning a Bassmaster Open in 2019, what was that experience like?
Oh man, it was pretty unreal. Something you dream about forever as a tournament angler, and you know, it's so hard to win, and you just never think it's really going to happen. And a lot of things had to go right that week for me to win. Just execution-wise, fish that normally would come off didn't come off, that sort of thing. Just one of those deals that was meant to be, and really kind of jump-started me to get to where I am right now, and gave me the opportunity to try and do this for a living. So we'll see how it goes. I'm really excited to get the season going again and get back on the road.
So I've got 2 more questions for you. This one is, what or who is your fishing hero of all time? Is somebody that maybe it was a pro that you looked up to, or it was somebody that around your region that really inspired you, that you paid attention to a lot?
Yeah, there's probably 2 around this region that have really inspired me over the years. One being Jim Moyna. He's from the Twin Cities area. He's been doing it, 25 plus years. I've just kind of always had a lot of respect for how he carries himself and goes about his business. And he's one of the first guys out of Minnesota that really kind of was doing it as a full-time career successfully. And then, Seth Feider, he's been a big inspiration the last, 5 to 10 years for me, and really a lot of guys in the Minnesota area. You've seen a lot more people from the Midwest kind of take a chance at doing this deal after seeing the success he's had in the recent years. And so he's definitely been a big inspiration too.
So my segue question, I knew you were going to say that probably, and so my segue question is, tell me a story that you have specific to Seth Fighter, because it's a pretty cool one.
Yeah, so back in 2006, I entered a Pro-Am tournament in Minnesota here, and in that particular event, it was just a random draw on who you got paired up with. But then whoever you were paired with, you actually fished as a team. So it was a pretty cool format. And so I randomly got paired with Seth. I think he was like 22 and I was 18 or something like that at the time. And we randomly got paired together in this tournament and actually ended up winning it that day. And Seth did all the practice, found all the areas, and it was just a really cool deal to look back and to have been paired with Seth at the time. We won the whole deal, and now we're both fishing the Elite Series. It was pretty crazy, especially in Minnesota. There's not many guys from here that kind of fish professionally. So for that to happen, whatever it was, 15 plus years ago, and then to see kind of where we're both at today is pretty neat.
That is pretty neat. There's an episode right there, a segment, Know the Pros with Bob Downey. Hopefully those couple questions give you some insight on the Wisconsin/Minnesota pro, Bob Downey, and his first year on the Bassmaster Elite Series.
Thanks, Ronnie. Appreciate you having me.
Of course.